Welcome to the Real Estate Show with your real estate and mortgaging team, Terry Kilakos and Merav Marciano on CJAD 800.
Good afternoon, everyone. You're listening to the Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Terry Kilakos, chartered real estate and mortgage broker, as well as president and founder of Northeast Real Estate and Mortgage Agency. And today we're talking about down payment. So this is going to be a two-part series. Normally I do these over like a three-part series, but we're going to do a two-part series. Today we're going to talk about down payments, and next week we are going to be looking at credit and income. So I'm pretty sure, Merav, that we can like jam both those subjects into one show.
Oh yeah, we're going to be loaded with emails and texts, but it's okay.
And if you guys haven't realized, Merav is in studio with me. She's
finally.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Like calling in was not easy.
No, I know. So you're not sitting by the pool in the sun in your bathing suit while I'm in studio. So that's
Sucks.
good. So that was the voice of Merav Marciano, chartered real estate and mortgage broker, as well as vice president of Northeast. I'm really happy that you're finally like allowed to be in studio with us. I guess it's a good sign. It's a sign that things are changing in a positive direction. So I'm happy about that. If you want to reach out to us at any time during the office, during office hours, or even after, because Olympia tends to answer the phone till the wee hours of the morning.
Don't call her at 2 o'clock in the morning.
No, but you can reach us at 514-680-4674, or you can visit us online at northeastmortgages.ca or .com. And you can also visit our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/northeastmortgages. And if you haven't done so already, please take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is newsonthego.ca, where you get to see all this fun and exciting stuff that we do behind the scenes at the station. So I like it. I enjoy watching the show. So let's kick it off, Merav. Kind of right off the top, we'll get into the different elements that are required when you're applying for a mortgage. So this is in line with what we've always called our financing triangle. And our financing triangle basically talks about three elements that are required. Element number one being your credit. Element number two is how much down payment you have. Element number three is what is your income like. And each one of these elements works hand in hand together to basically determine how much your borrowing capacity would be for a mortgage. So when you want to buy a property, that's what the bank is going to look at. So when we're looking at credit, for example, credit has a scoring system, and it's called the FICO scoring system, and it ranges from 300 to 900. And ideally, you should have a credit score above 650 when you're applying for a mortgage. On the equity side, which is the down payment side, which is what we're going to be talking about today, well, that has a ratio as well, and that's called a loan to value. And when we're talking about loan to value, what we're looking at is how much loan, in other words, how much mortgage are we getting with respect to
the value
of a house. Exactly. I mean, it's not overly complicated.
Yeah,
so
loan to value.
So if you're buying a property, let's see if Merav can do some quick math here. You're buying a property at 100,000. She's taking out her calculator, people. Okay. So if you're buying a property at $100,000 and you're putting $20,000 down,
hard.
okay, then what is the loan to value on that?
80%.
Exactly, because you're borrowing 80% of the value.
Yeah.
And then the third element that's looked at, it's going to be income, and income has two ratios. One's called a GDS ratio, the other one's called a TDS ratio, gross debt service.
Yeah. We're going to look at those in detail. I think
Absolutely,
you're gonna explain
absolutely. But there's those two ratios basically work to determine what your borrowing capacity will be. So what's the maximum mortgage you can actually support based on your income. So that we're going to look at in a little bit more detail next week, as well as the credit. So today, without any further ado, let's talk about down payments.
Yeah. Down payments is always, I met somebody and she was like, I want to buy, but I'm going to have to only buy in 5 years. It's going to take me a while to save up the down payment. I said, hold on. There's all kinds of creative ways to get your down payment. So we figured it's an important subject to go over to make sure that people know that it's not just save that $100 a month. There's other ways of going about that down payment.
100%. Yeah.
So, like, for example, Terry, let's go into the basics. What's the minimum down payment required?
So if you're buying a single family home, if you're buying a condo, so the down payment portion of the financing triangle is actually very, very important, because that's the side that's going to determine whether your mortgage is going to be insured or if it's going to be conventional. So when we're talking about a conventional mortgage, it means that we can stretch the amortizations to 30 years, even 35 years in some cases. When we're talking about an insured mortgage, we get capped out at 25 years. Insured mortgages come with a premium that CMHC, Genworth, or Canada Guarantee, which are the three insurers, will charge us. But it allows for people to be able to get into a property with less money down. So let's look at that. If you're buying a single family home or a condo or a duplex, the minimum down payment is 5%. That's
if you live in it.
If you're going to live in it, exactly. If you're buying a triplex or a fourplex, the minimum down payment becomes 10%. If you're buying 5+ doors, the minimum down payment, and this is your specialty,
15%.
15%.
Yep.
And if you're not going to live in it, and it's purely speculative purposes that you're buying the property for, well, in a case like that, you're looking at
20%.
20%, with the exception of, oddly enough, the multi-units. When you're going 5+ doors, you could still get away with 15% down if you're not living in it.
No, of course, if you're not living in it, but
it's insured.
But it's insured.
Exactly.
So
that's it. So those are the minimum down payments. Now, important thing to kind of remember, a lot of times, even real estate brokers get confused in this. Clients get confused in this. They look at a property on MLS and they find, a duplex for sale. And what they don't realize, it's actually the real estate broker has listed it as a duplex. You go and you see it, you look at the MLS listing, everything looks hunky-dory, everything says that it's a duplex. And then you send it off to us and we take a look at it, and we take a second look at the property. And when we take a second look at it, we see that there's a registered bachelor with the city. The minute that happens, now that is not a duplex anymore. As far as the city's concerned, it's a triplex, which means now we're
10%.
talking 10% down.
Oh my goodness.
So we've seen that happen time and time again. It's less, believe it or not, less and less these days. There's not as much of it happening. Early on in my career, we used to see this all the time, and I would have a lot of upset real estate brokers calling me, "It's a duplex," and I'm like, dude, take a look at your
the city evaluation. Yes, but I think the city evaluation also took time to update these things.
It's possible,
back then I don't think a bachelor really counted as an apartment, and then I guess to increase taxes they update everything.
Well,
I don't know.
I think it has a lot. You're right. I think they did. A lot of people had illegal bachelors. I think the city, when they have an opportunity to put an extra property in there, they'll do it. But look, at the end of the day, I think that it's just important that you look at your MLS. You look at, make sure you ask those questions when you're buying a duplex. When you're going triplex, fourplex, it's less important because you're buying a triplex or a fourplex. It's very rare that you're going to end up finding a fourplex with a bachelor.
Yeah.
But duplexes, they come up all the time, and we just have to be conscious, really be conscious about that. Coming up, we're going to be looking at different sources for your down payment. If you don't have it, where can you get it from? Now we're off to the CJAD Traffic Center.
You're listening to The Real Estate Show with your real estate and mortgaging team, Terry Kilakos and Merav Marciano on CJAD 800.
You're listening to The Real Estate Show, and today we're talking about your down payment and where it can come from. If you haven't done so already, please take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is newsonthego.ca. And don't forget, you can always reach us at the office at 514-680-4674. So let's dive into this, Merav. Let's talk down payments. What are the sources? Where can we get them from?
Oh boy, it's not what we think. It's not just savings, So let's start first of all with the savings. So obviously, if you have savings in your bank account or in a TFSA or anything like that, that can obviously be used how long does it have to be sitting in the account, Terry?
90 days. So
90 days.
that's actually one of the things that I was going to be mentioning. I have people that come to see me and they say, well, we have the down payment. And I'm like, okay, where's the down payment? We have it.
It's in a box in the house.
Is it like under your mattress? Like what the HELL, like, and they're like, no, well, sort of. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. So, the government, obviously they put in anti-money laundering rules years ago. And when they put in the anti-money laundering rules, basically what they did is they said that the money has to be sitting in a bank account for at least 90 days before it could be used for a down payment. It's not that the government doesn't trust you, but the government doesn't trust you. So 90 days.
Yeah, and they can't just see like a $40,000 deposit on Monday.
Exactly. They're going to question it. Yeah. And, for the most part, the good news is that a lot of times people will get money from parents or grandparents for their down payment. That's great. You can use that money. You don't have to have it in your account for 90 days. In a case like that, we just need to show the provenance of that money. So as long as I'm able to show where that money came from, show that trail, then we're good to go. I've had clients where they've sold paintings and they're using that money as a down payment, and as long as they have a receipt showing that they sold a painting, a car, whatever, and now all of a sudden there's money going into the account, no problem. You have a job where you receive, a $20,000 bonus every year. It comes up. You all of a sudden get like a nice chunk of change that appears in your bank account. You can use it for the down payment. So all those lump sum
accounts, those lump sums are acceptable even though it's not there for 90 days because you could show where it came from.
As long as you can prove where that money came from and it's not coming from either borrowed funds or, under your mattress, then you're good to go.
And are they going to check the parent's bank account that they have it for 90 days, or they just want to see that it came from the parent's account?
This is a case where sometimes banks kind of close their ears, and cover their eyes and go la 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 la, and they just do it. They just get a gift letter and they're good with a gift letter. You will get the occasional underwriter once in a while that's going to be a little bit more strict, and they're going to say, no, we want to see where, that the parent had the money in their bank account.
I think they go with their gut also.
Yeah, exactly. And truth be told, for us at Northeast, we're doing at this point, I think $500 million in mortgages a year. We have if not zero, a less than 0.001% default rate for every single mortgage that we've ever done. Yeah. So because we have such a low default rate, our mortgages are clean. There's no fraud. There's nothing like that comes up. Thanks to that, a lot of times banks will, when we give the gift letters, we do stuff like that. They're like, okay,
yes, they trust. They trust that we did our due diligence,
and we do our due diligence.
And we have a fiduciary duty to make sure that the documents provided to us are accurate and
absolutely,
and real and authentic.
So let's look at some other places.
Yeah,
RSPs, right?
RSPs I love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially for first-time home buyers. They can do the home buyers plan, so they basically pay back that RSP. After the third year, they could start paying back into it. So they took it out tax-free, paying it back over 15 years, getting back that money into their RSP. And I find it's a great, great tool for first-time home buyers. And now that they upped it to $35,000 per borrower, so you can have $70,000 as a couple. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm going to add just an extra layer to this. So imagine, let's go back to our example where someone is buying $100,000 house. Now I don't know where someone is going to find a $100,000 house.
Let's use a reasonable amount here.
The producer is smiling. He's like, okay, I need $100,000 house right now. But let's say you find that house that's $100,000 and you decide that you're putting 5% down, right? So you're putting 5% down, which means that you only need $5,000 and you're buying it with your spouse. And you each have $35,000 sitting in your RSP. Well, guess what? That's $70,000 that you both can wrap. You can take that money out of the RSP. And what you do with that money is 100% your prerogative.
So it doesn't have to go all towards the down payment.
No.
So this is your opportunity to take out your money tax-free.
Exactly.
And not necessarily use all of it for your down payment is what you're saying.
So you can use
renovations?
You could use it for closing costs. You can use it for moving expenses, to buy furniture, to do a whole bunch of stuff. A lot of times people are going to say, and I've gotten to a point in my career where I'm, early on I used to let people kind of dictate how they were going to do things. But now when I see a young couple comes in and they're like, oh, we don't need to use the money out of our RSP. We have the money for the down payment and savings, and we're going to go, I don't know, to a furniture store and get 0% interest for the next, couple of years. I will adamantly say to them, no, you're taking out your money out of your RSP and you're going to use that for your furniture, so that way you don't have those payments, those furniture payments that
makes sense. It's the only opportunity you have to pull that money out tax-free.
Exactly.
Unless you're talking about retirement where you're earning zero and you're paying very low taxes, but this is really the opportunity to take it out.
And I will add an extra layer to that.
One more layer.
One more layer. Nothing says, and this is, now I'm kind of taking a step into financial advising and financial planning.
Well,
and,
we do
take
offer that.
Yeah, we offer that at the office, but take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. And you got to make, I'm going to put my little asterisks here. Please consult your financial advisor.
The texts are coming in today.
Okay, so nothing stops you from taking that money out of the RSP and recontributing it right back inside the RSP and triggering a brand new tax refund. Right? So the minute you do that...
I like that. So money over money.
Exactly. So you've already received a tax refund on that money. You've taken it out using the home buyer's plan. So that money is now taken out tax-free. And if you have the space, you're actually able to recontribute it back into the RSP and generate a brand new tax refund on it.
Yeah, because a portion you can select in your taxes if you're putting that money back to pay the RAP, or if it's a brand new contribution.
Exactly.
So, because I know that there's confusion about that. It's not necessarily any money you put into the RSP that's going to go to pay back the RAP.
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, RAP, we didn't explain what that is.
Régime accès aux propriétés, or home buyer's plan.
Home buyer's plan in English.
Exactly.
We don't hear a lot HPB.
Yeah.
Or HBP.
Yeah, it sounds like some disease.
Yeah, it does actually. RAP. Let's stick to RAP.
Exactly. For a lot of people know, I started off my career as a financial advisor, financial securities advisor. Actually, I worked for Investors Group, and I learned a lot about tax planning and strategizing and doing all kinds of wonderful things like that. IG was a great school. And oddly enough, I'm gonna give them a plug. I worked for Ray and Jay, who was
used to do a radio show
on CJAD,
yeah.
right? So they were the kings of CJAD back in the day. So that's who I worked for. So I learned a lot from them. And I've always said that the real secret when you want to take a dollar and make your money grow, it's not the rate of return that you're getting on something. The rate of return, let it be secondary. Let the plan dictate where your money is going to go. So if you end up having, a $10,000 contribution that you're doing into your RSP, and that $10,000 contribution generates a $3,000 return for you, and you take that $3,000 and now you roll it also back into your RSP, and you constantly keep doing that, now all of a sudden your money is growing by tax refunds.
Yeah,
which is fantastic. Anyways, I can go off on tangents like this.
Definitely, they should
day.
talk to their accountant and financial advisor just to be on the safe side. That's my little asterisk.
Or give us a call at the office, and we'll set you up with a proper financial advisor.
Yes, absolutely.
And you can call us actually at the office at 514-680-4674. And like I said, we have financial advisors, and we have real estate brokers, and we have mortgage brokers, and
it's a complete plan.
Yeah, we got notaries. We have literally everything under the sun. You're listening to The Real Estate Show on CJAD. Up next, we're going to be talking a little bit more about your down payment, and if you don't have it, where to get it from.
You're listening to The Real Estate Show with your real estate and mortgaging team, Terry Kilakos and Merav Marciano on CJAD 800.
Thanks for joining us on The Real Estate Show. Today, we're talking about your down payment and everything you need to know. Feel free to visit us online at northeastmortgages.ca, or you can reach out to us at the office at 514-680-4674. And if you haven't done so already, take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is newsonthego.ca, and it's pretty fun. It's a fun channel.
Yeah,
I like that.
Of course, it's your channel. What are you going to say about it? So I'm intrigued now. You want to talk about people who don't have a down payment?
Yeah,
there's ways to get it.
So something as simple as setting up we were talking about RRSPs before the news. Setting up your RRSPs strategically will actually generate for you a return, right? That return can ultimately be used for a down payment. So let me give you something simple. Let's say you don't have any money in your RRSPs, you have no savings, you have, a good paying job. What's to stop you from taking an RRSP loan, dumping the money inside the RRSP? Once you put the money inside the RRSP, now all of a sudden, you end up getting a tax refund. That tax refund that you get, you can actually use it for your down payment. So that essentially, you've just created money out of, I'm doing air quotes here, out of nothing.
Yep.
But it's just a little bit of, strategic planning that has allowed you to do that.
Yep. And,
I've seen people generate pretty substantial amounts of money, to the tune of $10,000, $12,000, $13,000 each individual, right? So I'm talking about if it's a couple, you can literally generate a good $20,000 of tax refunds, which could be used for a down payment. And knowing that you need 5%, right? $20,000 of tax refunds is basically a $400,000 purchase right there.
Yes.
Okay, so that's one way that you can kind of do it. The other way that you can look at it is the multi-source route.
I like that program.
So the multi-source program, I don't know if you want to kind of explain it a little bit.
Well, certain banks, not all of them.
Yeah.
That's why, sorry, I'm going to plug us here. That's why you have to work with a broker, because the broker knows which lender fits in that box. Certain banks will allow you to borrow your funds for your down payment. So it could be from a line of credit, even from a credit card.
Exactly.
From family member, friend, etc.
Yeah.
But I think that the most important part in this is that you qualify with those payments. So that's added as a debt. Do you want to go over that?
Yeah, that's right. So let's say you have a line of credit and it's a personal line of credit, and you decide that you're going to use that line of credit to buy a property. Okay, no problem. You can do it. However, when you do that, number one, the bank is going to charge you a little bit of a higher insurance premium. It has to be an insured mortgage. So this can't be a conventional type of a mortgage. It has to be insured, which usually these are insured mortgages. Once you have the insured mortgage, they're going to pepper you a little bit on the not the rate, but on the actual premium. So you're going to pay a little bit of a higher premium than what you would normally do for a 5% down. And you have to have the payments of that debt have to be factored into your expenses. So for example, if you have a line of credit that you borrowed $10,000 for, then that translates to a $300 a month payment as far as the banks are concerned. So 3%.
Whether it is your payment or not.
Exactly.
Because I've had the argument, I'm paying interest only, but the bank calculates their way of calculating your payment.
Exactly. And if it's a credit card and you live in Quebec, it's actually 5%.
Yes.
Right? So there's, you have to be able to factor that in. And as long as you qualify with that, and that goes, we'll talk a little bit more about it next week when we're talking about income, that's going to play into your GDS, TDS calculations.
Yes, your ratios. That's when we say you bust your ratios.
Exactly.
You're going to hear us say that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that would be the multi-source program. And it's a great program. I mean, it helps the people that are famous for using this are doctors. Medical students, you get out of medical school, maybe you have a residency, you have this massive line of credit that's available to you. You have no money because you're not, when
you just finished paying for all your medical bills.
Yeah, your
medical school.
You have huge earning potential.
Yeah.
You have this massive line of credit that the banks have given you, sometimes, $200,000 to get you through medical school and stuff like that. And they will allow you to use that for a down payment.
But again, to remember, not all financial institutions allow it. So,
Exactly.
If you walk into the bank and say, well, I plan on using my line of credit as a down payment, they might say, you're not allowed to do that. And then they're going to say, well, Terry Kilakos told me I could do that.
Indeed.
But it's not all financial institutions that do offer it.
Exactly.
Now, the gift from the family, I love that.
Because, gift from the family is a given. I mean, you could just literally, bank of mom and dad,
Does it have to be just mom and dad?
Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, a couple,
brother, sister?
Couple of banks. Depending on the bank, depending on the underwriter, they'll accept brothers and sisters. I always consider that kind of a gray zone. Aunts and uncles, they don't typically accept it from. It literally has to be an immediate family member.
Okay.
So, but parents are usually really good sources of that, and so are grandparents. Now, here's actually something really interesting. And this comes up all the time. You end up having a young couple or, a young guy or gal who wants to buy grandma and grandpa's duplex or single family home or condo or whatever. And this comes up very often. And a lot of times these young people, what they're going to base it, I sound like I'm 80 years old. These young whippersnappers, whatever. No. Okay. So
where's your cane, for God's sake?
As I said it, I was okay. So a lot of times these, young, I don't know, real estate purchasers, okay, the first-time home buyers, yes, I don't know, whatever you want.
First-time home buyers.
Okay, I don't know what you want to call them, okay? So a lot of times these, first-time home buyers, they want to buy, let's say, this condo or house or whatever from, the grandparents or their parents. And a lot of times what they're going to do is they're going to spend all this time kind of building up money before they actually make the purchase. And there's a couple of problems with doing that. Number one, in some cases, they're going to be paying rent over the years. In other cases, the value of that property goes up, so there's potential for capital gains for the person that's going to be selling it to you, and so on and so forth. Most parents and grandparents, they are already planning on gifting to you a certain amount of equity out of that property. So, for example, if you're buying a house that's worth $500,000 and, grandma and grandpa or your parents say to you, well, you know what, we just want $300,000 for it. Well, there's already a built-in $200,000 in that property. So because there's a built-in $200,000 in that property, they can actually gift to you the equity. And that gift of equity goes towards your down payment. So theoretically, you need zero money down in a case like that.
So basically, it's just like receiving a gift, but you're getting it as an equity portion of that property, right?
Exactly. Okay. And I mean, it comes up all the time. We see it all the time. A lot of times, I've seen banks kind of shy away from doing stuff like that. We do it all the time. I mean, it's just a simple letter, okay, that they do for you. Coming up, we're going to be looking a little bit more into detail about where to get your down payment from and how to structure it. You're listening to the Real Estate Show on CJAD 800. Now we're off to the CJAD Traffic Center.
You're listening to the Real Estate Show with your real estate and mortgaging team, Terry Kilakos and Merav Marciano on CJAD 800.
Thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Real Estate Show on CJAD 800. Let's get back into down payment rules, Merav. So we just talked about getting an equity gift. Yep. Let's talk about a little bit some of the other sources. And actually, we are running out of real estate. But before we end up completely running out of real estate, I do want to talk a little bit about what the premiums are when you're putting a certain amount of down payment down. So,
do you want to go over that before?
Yeah. Okay. So if you're going with a 5% down, the CMHC premium, and it doesn't matter if you're using CMHC, Genworth, or Canada Guarantee, which is the three insurers. It's the bank that ultimately decides who they're going to use. But at the end of the day, they all have the same premium, so it doesn't really make a difference to you. If you're going with 5% down, you're looking at a 4% premium that you pay. If you're going with 10% down, the premium is at 3.1%. If you're going with 15% down, the premium is at 2.8%. And theoretically, if you're putting 20% down, the premium is zero. But the premium is zero for you. It's not zero in reality, because as you guys know, because everyone listening to this show is very educated, because you've heard me say this before, mortgages in Canada are all backed by insurers.
Yes.
So because they're all backed by insurers, the difference is whether the down payment will determine whether you're paying the premium or the bank is paying the premium. So if the bank is paying the premium, they're going to charge you a higher interest rate to compensate for that. So that's why if you go like to these rate websites and stuff like that, you're going to see 5-year fixed, I don't know, 239, 229. There's like all kinds of rates that are floating around out there. But those rates are for insured mortgages.
And some of them have very high penalties. You have to be very careful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not even going to dive into that.
That's a whole show in itself.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, you have to remember that if you're buying a property and you're putting 20% down, you're going to be paying a higher interest rate than the guy that is buying a property and putting 5% down. So just keep that in mind.
And the premium gets tacked onto your mortgage?
Exactly. So the premium will get tacked onto the mortgage. So for example, if you're buying a property and you have a mortgage of $100,000 and you've put 5% down, then they're going to add 4% to that. So it's going to be a mortgage of $104,000.
$95,000 plus the 4%.
I said a mortgage of 100. I wanted to keep my math simple.
You tricked me.
There you go. I'm not using.
That was a purchase.
No. I'm not using that example. No. If
okay,
you
so
have
now we've
a mortgage,
upgraded now
we've
to
upgraded.
a home
exactly.
of like
105,000,
7,000 or whatever. With respect to the gift from the family or the gift in equity, there's another way to get it if, let's say, you're not planning on buying your parents' house.
Yeah.
They can refinance the house and give you as a gift that portion. You don't necessarily have to be buying their house.
And the down payment, you have to remember, can come from a lot of different sources. Okay, I mean we've covered most of them during the show, but when you're actually looking at if you're getting a gift from your parents, they can refinance their house and give you the money. Your grandparents can do that. You can. If you own a property, you can refinance your property and go and buy another property with it.
That's why I love real estate.
Absolutely.
You buy one, refinance, buy another, refinance, buy another. Keep on building equity in each property.
Yeah, this is exactly how I built my real estate portfolio over the years. I bought my first property. People have heard me say this. It was a fourplex in Hochelaga Maisonneuve. I paid $107,000 for it, and very quickly that property went up to 160, and then from 160 it was 250, and I refinanced, took some money out, paid some debts that I had, and then moved on from there, took some more money out, bought another property with it, refinanced it, bought another property, and just grew the real estate portfolio over the years just by doing that. And I've always said, and I'm stealing this title from someone. I know I am. I've probably seen it. I'm going to write a book, although I've been a little lazy, okay?
You had 10 weeks to do so.
I've been working like a maniac, and you know that over the last 10 weeks. But I'm going to write a book, and the book is going to be The Accidental Millionaire, and it really comes down to just this kind of religious, refinancing and buying another one, refinancing and buying another one. So there's a lot of value in that. There's a lot of value in leveraging your investments properly and leveraging your assets properly. And that's a kind of a perfect example of it.
And up to how much can you refinance if you want to pull out some money out of your
80%.
80%.
So when you're refinancing a property for whatever reason, whether it's to buy another property or to pay off debts or to do anything like that, the maximum that you can refinance is 80%. Maybe that's going to change over the next little while. The government has been talking about changing even the down payment. They want to go with 10% down.
Yeah, we've heard some whispers. I'm not sure what happened there with the CMHC reports and the whispers of the possible hiking up. Yeah. I don't know if that's just rumors.
Everyone knows where I stand on the first-time homebuyers incentive, but that's another source of a down payment that you can use. And the first-time homebuyers incentive basically means that if you're buying a property and it's an existing property, then you could put 5%, and the government will kick in another 5%.
We'll lend you 5%.
We'll lend you, thank you, another 5%. Why don't you go into a little bit of detail on it?
So basically, we hear a lot, the government will give you 5%, the government will give you 10% for a new construction. And yes, they will contribute with you towards your down payment. You can't put 0 and they put 5. You have to put 5, they put 5, or you could put 5 and they put 10 if it's a new construction. However, you do have to pay that back. Now, how do you pay it back? Is that as the property value goes up, your 5% portion goes up. So let's say, to use Terry's beautiful numbers, you're buying a house for $100,000. The government contributed $5,000. In 10 years, that house is worth $200,000. Now you have to pay back to the government $10,000.
Exactly.
Because it's 5% of the new value. So this is how it works with respect to how you're going to pay that back to the government. It's basically that 5% of the new value that you're paying back.
Yeah. So I'm not a big fan of it, but it is available for people.
It's a tool, just like anything else.
I have literally 2 clients that have opted to take it.
Well, not everybody wants the government as a co-owner of their home.
Of their property.
You know.
As far as I'm concerned, it's just an extra layer of taxation for us, but that's a whole other topic of conversation that we can have another day.
I think billions of dollars were earmarked for this. I think it was $2 billion, if I remember correctly. I don't remember the numbers.
And nothing was used.
And
very little.
Few, like tens of millions, a few tens. We didn't even hit like $500 million used. It's
now the other interesting thing, and maybe you said it and I missed it. If you're buying a new construction,
you don't always listen to me.
If you're buying a new construction, it's 10%.
Yeah, I said it, Terry.
Oh, you did?
You're sitting right in front of me.
So let me tell you, our relationship is Merav will come to me in the morning when I wake up, because she's usually awake from 3:30 in the morning or something. 5:30. And, so when I get up, she's fully awake. She's already had her 10th cup of coffee. She's wired. She's already, responded to a whole bunch of emails and stuff like that. And I haven't had a sip of my coffee yet. And she will start asking me questions about whatever and making plans with me. And my answer always is, yes, dear. Yes. I'm not really listening. I'm just saying yes because I'm a guy and this is what guys do. And then, lo and behold, like a week later, I don't know, there's something that shows up to our door and I'm like, what is this? You said that we can buy this. You said yes to this. And I'm like, when? You don't listen to me when I talk. Anyway, so I apologize for that. Okay. But
yes, it is 10% for
new
construction.
Yeah, it's 10% for new construction.
So next week, what are we looking at, Terry?
So next week we're going to be covering what are we covering next? We're covering income and credit next week, okay, which are 2 very, very important things, and they work hand in hand with your down payment to determine just how much borrowing capacity you are going to have. So if you want to reach us throughout this week, you can reach us at the office at 514-680-4674 as well. Merav, you want to give our online coordinates?
Our email address, our website is www.northeastmortgages.ca.
And if you haven't done so already, take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is newsonthego.ca. Till next week, everyone, have a blessed, summery kind of week here. The weather's supposed to be nice. Love you all. Be well.